Well, what a weekend, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in. My name is Mark Farzy. This is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie. Use promo code Farzy and MyBookie for 110%. That's right, 110% deposit match. How about that? Greatest offer yet from MyBookie. So make sure you check them out. Here's what we got going on today. In all honesty, what a weekend. We got Jonathan Gannon taking care of business against the Cowboys. I filled in for Rob Ellis on Sports Take with Derek Gunn on, was it Friday? I think it was Friday. It was definitely Friday. Was it Friday? It was definitely Friday. And we had joked about Jonathan Gannon knowing the Cowboys well enough to stop Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb and Tony Pollard. And turns out it wasn't a joke at all. It actually happened. The Cowboys choked against the Cardinals. They were 12.5 point overdogs. Favorites is what they were. That is bonkers. Holy Stromboli. That is amazing. Oh, what a week. If you don't like your rivals, this was a fun weekend because who likes their rivals? Cowboys lose to the Cardinals, and the Philadelphia Phillies swept the New York Mets. Now, I know the Mets are just terrible, so I shouldn't bask into them. It's not an achievement to beat the Mets. However, it's always nice to beat the Mets, even if the Mets go all in on one season. They acquire a good pitching and Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer, and then the trade deadline comes and they're gone, and then they suck. It's great. And then you beat them in 4 straight games at home, at your home, in your final home series of the season, in your way to clinching another playoff berth. That is just a beautiful thing, okay? Phillies right there, man. 6 games left in the season, beating the Mets in 4 straight games. It is a lovely thing. Oh, and it went so bad for the Mets. One guy fouled a ball off his hibbity-dibbity. So that was a fun weekend. Anyway, so we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about our preview for the Bucs and the Eagles kicking off tonight in Monday Night Football. This is coming from a guy who worked 11 years on Sunday Night Football. I think Sunday Night Football is the best broadcast out there. But, man, there is just nothing like bum, 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 bum. That just gets you going. It just gets you going, and it makes you ready for some football. So let's get into it today, everybody. We got a fun show planned. We got Nick Sirianni addressing the media this past Saturday. We'll get into his comments. Really, from last week, we didn't get into his comments last week too much, but I want to say this. I am going to give you the 5 things I'm looking at the most when it comes to this game. But Nick Sirianni was addressing the media 2 press conferences ago, got into the whole Todd Bowles versus Jalen Hurts conversation. And in last week, without even playing a cut for you guys last week of Nick Sirianni, I echoed the sentiments of Nick Sirianni. I 1,000% agree. When Brian Johnson was asked about it, when Jalen Hurts was asked about it, and we played Jalen Hurts comments, it was a long time ago. All right. It was a Super Bowl appearance, an NFC championship, a second in the MVP voting. It was a contract ago for Jalen Hurts. The Jalen Hurts versus Todd Bowles conversation, I'm done with. I know that Jalen Hurts has improved as a quarterback since that game against Todd Bowles. And Todd Bowles was the first one to really crack the code of Jalen Hurts. And then Jalen Hurts adapted, became an MVP candidate, and now he's back. This is Judgment Day. This is a huge Judgment Day. And it's not for Jalen Hurts. It's about Brian Johnson and Nick Sirianni versus Todd Bowles. Because the first 2 games of the season, when it came to trying to use your franchise quarterback in a way to beat your opponent, didn't really work out so well. You really had to concentrate on the run game to do that for you. And that's fine. You know, in the overall grand scheme of things, as long as the Eagles are winning football games, everybody is just happy-go-lucky. Everyone is hunky-dory. But for me, it's not about Todd Bowles and Jalen Hurts. It's about Todd Bowles, Nick Sirianni, and Brian Johnson. We'll get into that when we talk about the 5 things we really want to focus on when it comes to this football game. Kicking off tonight, 7:15 in Tampa. Look forward to it, of course. I am done with it, but Nick Sirianni talked about that 2 press conferences ago, that it was a long time ago. Yeah, they watched the tape on it just to diagnose more so what Todd Bowles was doing as opposed to looking at critiques of Jalen Hurts since then. I think so far this year, in the first 2 games, in 5 games, by the way, the first 2 games in 5 days, excuse me. I think they have enough tape on Jalen Hurts to be like, well, but this is what we should be correcting. This is what we need to work on a little bit. And hopefully we'll be able to do that by tonight's game. That'd be a nice thing. But today is Judgment Day. This is a huge Judgment Day for the Philadelphia Eagles and the rest of the season. Because if they lose this game, because the rust argument goes away, the playing 2 games very close together goes away, the idea of Brian Johnson learning how to call plays at the NFL level, you got 2 games under your belt and you got more than a week in between them. So hopefully you've discovered in this mini bye week the proper way to call plays. You've worked out any kinks, anything, you knocked off any rust, whatever it might be, and you have adapted to your new job of calling plays in the NFL. That would be a very good thing, and that's certainly one thing I am looking forward to. And I'm sticking to my word. Last week, 2 weeks ago, when I was asked the question on Jacob postgame, and I was asked about my worry level in the Eagles, I said it was very low. I said it was about 3. It's about 3. But if they come out tonight and they look terrible against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they can't force Baker Mayfield into turnovers, they can't knock Baker Mayfield off his game managerial skills, well, then I'm going to have some concern. Because if they can't do those things, they're not going to win this game tonight. I have confidence they're going to do those things. I have confidence the Eagles are just overall the better team. But there's one thing in particular I feel like they need to do. Baker Mayfield in the first 2 games of the season has been very comfortable. He has not turned the football over. He has not been forced into a mistake. They get in his head tonight. They get in his cage. Eagles are going to win this game without a problem. They don't do that, it's going to be a much more difficult task. The run game, I don't feel is going to be as good as what we have seen through the first 2 games of the season. We're going to be looking for Jalen Hurts and his arm to bail us out of certain situations, like the run game bailed the Eagles out of the situation they had against the Minnesota Vikings last Thursday night, 2 Thursday nights ago. Scoozy. So that's what we're looking at tonight. We'll get into that a little bit more in depth coming up in just a minute. One thing I do want to start off with is the wild day that it was in the NFL, just in total. Before I even get into the Phillies and winning and completing the sweep yesterday, you had 3 different teams that were underdogs of 7 points or more yesterday come back and win their ball games last night. The Cardinals were 11.5-point dogs. They came back and they beat the Cowboys. The Texans were able to come back and win their game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Sorry, Doug Peterson. And the Colts were able to have a victory over the Baltimore Ravens in a crazy overtime game. They were 7.5-point dogs. The Texans were 7.5-point dogs. The Cardinals were 11.5-point dogs. The only team that was over 7.5 that lost, as expected, was the Chicago Bears. And man, that was horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. Ladies and gentlemen, it was a wild day. And I know that I want to explain something to somebody, to a lot of people. I know that people that listen to the show are obviously sports fans. All right. I'm not a fan of Taylor Swift. I know I have nothing to get. I just don't find myself like seeking out her music. I give all the credit in the world to Taylor Swift. So when I watch football, I don't really care to see Taylor Swift. Now, here's the thing. The reason you're seeing so much of Taylor Swift is because she's one of the biggest stars on the planet. And she is now supposedly dating Travis Kelce. The idea, okay, of this being a story in the sports world, I know is annoying to a lot of people. Here's what people are going after, all right? It's called unique clicks, unique views. People that are Taylor Swift fans that don't give a damn about football are now giving a damn about football because they're seeing that, oh, Taylor Swift, what's she doing now? Oh, she did in football. And then clicks go crazy, all right? This is a woman that wrote a letter to Apple about what, like making music available. And she's like, yeah, make music available. What's wrong with you guys? And they made music available. It's a very general description of what went back and forth a couple of years ago with Taylor Swift and Apple. But anyway, she's got a lot of power. All right. She gets a lot of eyeballs. She gets a lot of attention. And today, when people are asking about podcasts and asking about digital forms of media, it's like, how do you make money in those? Well, it's all about what it's always been about. It's about eyeballs and ears. In the radio business, if you can get ears, you're going to make money. In the TV business, you get eyes, you're going to make money. It's not about the forum anymore. It's about just simply the most basic thing that it's always been about since the radio came around, since printed newspapers came around. You get eyes, you get ears, you're going to make money off of it. So when it comes to Taylor Swift, she gets a lot of eyeballs and she gets a lot of ears. She gets a lot of attention. So that's why you're going to see Adam Schefter tweeting out Taylor Swift. screaming, "Let's bleeping go," next to Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce's mom in the family suite at Arrowhead. Now, as someone that roots for the Eagles, I'm a little offended, actually, Taylor Swift, because not too long ago, you were in South Philadelphia and you were at Lincoln Financial Field. You were on the Eagles' home field, and you were talking to the crowd there, and you're just like, yeah, of course I know the Eagles play here. I'm a Philly girl. Oh, remember that little tidbit? Now I feel like we've been betrayed, ladies and gentlemen. Now I feel like we've been betrayed. But if you didn't know why, that's why we're seeing all the clicks. So that's why we're seeing all the now. Here's the deal for the people that do want to get involved in the gossip, for the people the Kardashian followers of the world that want to get involved in the gossip. Okay, there was video of Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift leaving Arrowhead yesterday. They're walking together in the bowels of the stadium, and they're not holding hands. They were not holding hands. My theory on all this, we're just being messed with. I think they're pals. I think they're besties. I think Travis Kelce, this is what I think. I think Travis Kelce is in the friend zone right now. I think Taylor Swift has put him in the friend zone. And a friend of mine in my old radio days, my friend Bex, she pointed out, I believe it was her. She pointed out in the social media world that she's not dropping the F-bomb next to her boyfriend's significant other's mom on the initial meeting. It's not happening. It's not happening. But if they're besties, then she doesn't give a damn. Then she doesn't give a damn. There's a good girl from Reading like that? Come on. She's not going to drop it like that. Come on. But anyway, that's why you're seeing it. And now I've spent 7 minutes on it. Damn it, I got sucked into it. Anyway. Yeah, it was a crazy day in the NFL. Dolphins put up 70 points. What the hell happened there? I don't know why I'm enjoying Sean Payton not being a good head coach. I am enjoying that. Maybe it was because I was always on the Drew Brees makes him kind of thing. I was on that kick, sort of like I was with Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy. Maybe that's what it is. And I don't like a head coach calling out a quarterback publicly like he did with Russell Wilson about how Russell's all in on his Russell Inc. as opposed to football. But whatever it is, and I know it wasn't all Russell Wilson's fault, but just the fact that the Broncos looked terrible yesterday, and Cortland Sutton had 2 huge fumbles, and the Dolphins just took it. It was 16-16 at halftime, and then they put up 70 points. That's ridiculous. What a crazy day in the NFL, without question. So yeah, we'll get more into Eagles and Bucs coming up in just one second, but I do want to talk about the Philadelphia Phillies. They are 1 win away from clinching a playoff berth. Now, there's a whole bunch of things that need to go right here for the end of the season for the Phillies to be able to just clinch in the next couple games that number 1 wild card spot, which they more or less already have. I mean, they're 4.5 games into up on the Diamondbacks. Phillies have 6 games left to go. The Cubs right now occupy that 3rd and final wild card spot. The Marlins are looking up at them by a game, and the Reds are 2.5 games out of that final wild card spot. So the Phillies, after their 4-game sweep of the Mets over the weekend, they're 5 games up in that wild card spot, 87. They could get to 90. They should get to 90 wins easily here, as their last 6 games are against the Pittsburgh Pirates, womp womp, and against the New York Mets again in Flushing, Queens, New York. So 90 wins for the first time since the Utley, Howard, Rollins days would be a welcome sight for all of us. I get it. But here's what I am so excited about when it comes to this baseball team. They're a team that right now, as I was asking for a month ago, when we were going into the month of September, I said I want to be one of the hottest teams. I want to be the hottest team in baseball going into it. The Cubs have had their struggles, all right? The Reds have certainly had their struggles, as you just saw, looking up at everybody else in the wild card standings. And the Phillies certainly could be. Now, the Braves, other than the Braves, the Rays, the Orioles, those teams are obviously, they've been hot pretty much all year. But the Phillies coming back the way they have come back to be one of the hottest teams in baseball since June 2nd, since you put Kyle Schwarber at the top of the order, is absolutely incredible. And watching a guy like Nick Castellanos come into his own this year, watching a guy like Trey Turner turn it around since that August 4th standing ovation, and watching him break out of that 0 for 21 slump with his double yesterday, seeing these guys hit their stride, seeing these guys pull themselves out of the muck or get pulled out of the muck, whether it was from last year to this year or it was early struggles this year to now playing at an all-star level like Trey Turner, who's really played at an MVP level since the standing ovations, and seeing a guy like Bryce Harper come out of Tommy John surgery in record time to have a 20 home run season, bat 290, and get on base at nearly 400, that is pretty damn special. Another 40 home run season, 40 plus home run season from Kyle Schwarber. You could have two 30 home run hitters on this ball club with Castellanos if he gets one more home run. You could have 720 home run hitters if Alec Boehm gets one more home run. And then the sugar on top of this all, before I even get to the pitching, JT Realmuto has been awful at home this year. I did the numbers for you guys 2 weeks ago. Like Jake Cave, Jeremy Guthrie was even better than him. Cody Clemens, like basically anyone that had grabbed a bat for the Phillies this year, there was only 4 guys hitting worse than JT Realmuto at home. And then in this 4-game series, he's got 7 hits, excuse me. Gets his 20th home run of the season. Gets a huge 2-run single yesterday. Hey, man, it looks like you guys are going to be hosting a first-round playoff series for the wild card round as the top wild card team out there. You're going to be hosting it. You're going to be home, obviously. JT Realmuto figuring it out right now is perfect timing. I know Rob Thompson about 3 weeks ago was talking about how well it is at home. He's got 3 kids to worry about, so maybe that's something to do with it. I can certainly, well, not relate to 3 kids, but definitely 2. Maybe that's something that JT Realmuto needed to figure out at home. Whatever it is, maybe he's eating his Wheaties, I don't know. But whatever it is, he has finally figured it out. It's a very good sign to see JT Realmuto hitting like he has been hitting on this homestand, and now we hope that it keeps it going with the day off today, and then he's got the Pirates. So hopefully he'll be matching against the Pirates at home as they wrap up their homestand. But that's a big thing. Just seeing these guys go through the struggles and the adversity of this season has been a show unto itself. And the most recent development in that is JT Realmuto being able to hit at home. Now, when we talk about the possible playoff rotation, Zach Wheeler looks like he has figured it out for the season. He's found consistency. We look at a guy like Aaron Nola, although not a great last 2 starts. Over his last 2 starts, nonetheless, he's only allowed 2 earned runs in that time, which is great for Aaron Nola, especially with the awful standard he has really set so far this season. I really think all you're at right now, when you look at Rob Thompson, what you're going to see is Wheeler, Nola, Suarez, Sanchez, Walker. That's probably the way you're going to see it. It's the way you wanted to start the season. It's the way you had most of the beginning of the season before injuries came back to haunt Ranger Suarez. And then you're definitely going to see Christopher Sanchez, who has been fantastic. And Taijuan Walker has been leaking gas really for his last handful of starts. And that's just not something you can afford to see in the playoffs. I think a guy you're going to be relying on in the playoffs a lot is Christopher Sanchez, and rightfully so. I love that he came out for the 7th inning yesterday. I thought it was the right move by Rob Thompson for a lot of mistakes that I feel like he has made in managing the bullpen and deciding whether or not a starter should be going a little extra. I thought he handled it perfectly yesterday, especially if it started to rain and you take Sanchez out, you put somebody else in, he starts throwing, then it rains, and then you got to delay, then you got to put a new pitcher out there, so you burn another pitcher. By just getting one more inning out of Sanchez, it went a long way. And it could have gone even longer if there was a rain delay during this game. And credit to the Phillies and their weather team, their weather advisors for saying, oh, yeah, you don't play this game at 105. Push this game back to 605 and all will be right with the world. That's what they did, and all was right with the world. But bottom line was Phillies came up with a great win yesterday to complete the sweep against the New York Mets, and they needed to come back and get that sweep against the New York Mets to make us all feel warm and cozy going into the final 6 games of the season. As for the game itself yesterday, I mentioned what you had in Nick Castellanos. I mentioned what you had in JT Realmuto, and certainly what you got yesterday from Christopher Sanchez was a fantastic thing. But just looking over the game, they really put themselves they separated themselves from the pack in this game when it came to what they did in that 4th inning. First off, Christopher Sanchez had a no-hitter going through 4 innings. 5 innings, 4 innings. He got McNeil to ground out to first, Mauricio to strike out. 3 straight changeups in that 4th inning to Mauricio, and then Alonso struck out on a changeup. If I'm not mistaken, all 10 strikeouts by Christopher Sanchez yesterday came with the put-away pitch of the changeup. So that thing was working for him phenomenally well, except for one at bat that I'll get to in a second. But in that 4th inning, Harper starts it off with a walk. Bohm then makes it out. It flies out there, pops out to second. And then Stott gets the single. On this play, Bryce Harper, don't tell me this guy's taking anything for granted. Bryce Harper reads it perfectly, goes first to third on that. Then Stott's able to steal second when Real Muto's at the plate. Puts runners at second and third with one out, and Real Muto puts a baseball line drive into left field that scores 2 runs. So now all of a sudden you're up 2-0. Castellanos is the next man up with JT Realmuto standing on first base, and Nick Castellanos gets a 2-2 slider and puts it 362 feet into left field. It's now from a 2-0 game to a 4-0 game. Jake Cave, unfortunately, makes the final out of the inning on a great dive there by Pete Alonso at first base. Then you go into the 5th inning. This was wild. Lindor draws a walk, questionable as to whether or not he offered at it. Could have kept the perfect game going at this point for Christopher Sanchez in the 5th inning. They said he held up on his swing. He checked his swing, so he reaches first. But anyway, Sanchez ends up picking him off at first, which was great. They get him in a little bit of a pickle, a little bit of a rundown, and they take care of business there. Then Vinitos goes up there. He flies out to center field, so you got 2 outs. Thinking you're about to get through 5 innings of no-hit baseball. Stewart gets the first hit of the game, and then Alvarez strikes out him. Yes. Alvarez strikes out him. Yes. Another change for Christopher Sanchez. And then in the 5th inning, Turner is able to get Harper's able to get a RBI single. That was a great read by Turner. That was the double that broke up that 0 for 21. Double down the left field line. Harper then comes up, brings him home on a line drive up the middle. Turner read it perfectly. It wasn't going to be caught. He was busting it from get-go. Now 5-0 game. And then in the 6th inning was the last scoring of the ball game. Mauricio took a changeup of all pitches that just hung up enough. He went down and got it for a 2-run home run and make it a 5-2 game. And then the star of the show from yesterday. Oh, my God. PJ, producer extraordinaire. I'm sure you were loving this kid yesterday. Pitcher that you are. Orion Kerkering, ladies and gentlemen. Say it with me. Orion Kerkering. Pause. I'm an emotional man. You probably know that if you listen to this show. Listening or seeing Mr. Kerkering in the stands cheering on his son. Oh, okay. It brought me back to Weston Wilson hitting a home run for the Phillies early this season. His big league debut, and his dad crying. Oh my God! I happened to be watching this game with my dad, and the mom and dad came over. Joey and Eleanor came over yesterday, and I was watching this game with my dad, and it was awesome. We were just taking in how incredible that was, and then Kerkering started pitching. And oh my God, I've been following minor league baseball throughout the season. I definitely follow it more when the Phillies are terrible for obvious reasons. You want to see what's coming up. But in the last couple of weeks with the season winding down, in the minors, you look at the stats a little bit more, and I was like, this Kerkering guy, I bet you he was like 31. It's like, oh no, he's only like 22. Okay, 21. All right, let's see what this guy's got. Then he gets the call up a couple days ago. He makes his debut today or yesterday. I knew about the 99-mile-per-hour fastball. I knew about the 90-mile-per-hour sinker, the 100-mile-per-hour fastball, whatever you want to call it. A lot of guys go up there and they get called up and they want to show what they got. They want to show the power. The maturity to back up. He threw 12 pitches. I think he threw 2 sinkers. Everything else, sliders. He had to know that the Mets hitters in the dugout were, hey, this guy can hit 100. Get ready for it. This guy can hit 100. And he comes out throwing the soft stuff consistently, barely in the strike zone. He had those guys so amped up for 100-mile-per-hour pitches, he was lofted sliders at them, and they were swinging over top of it. He gets Navarez to ground out to third for his first out and 5 straight sliders. Then Beatty goes up there, gets him to strike out on a slider, throws him one of the sinkers, and then Ortega goes up there and he strikes out as well. So he has a perfect 8th inning in his major league debut where he logs his first 2 major league strikeouts. I loved seeing the authenticator of Major League Baseball sitting there. This is the ball right here. That is the first strikeout of his big league career. I loved it. And then they kept flashing back to his family as they always do in a big league debut. It was fantastic. It was so beautiful. And the fact that he looks like a legit arm is pretty damn fantastic as well. Now, if you follow him at all in the minors, he's got the live stuff. He's got the good stuff, man. He's got the goods. But what really impressed me is that so many guys come up and they just want to throw the fire. They just want to throw heat. And this guy was like, I know what they're doing. They're going to be gearing up for a fastball. Slider after slider. 5 straight sliders. Tavares to start things off. Absolutely loved it. Phillies get the win 5-2 yesterday. As I said, they're 5 games up in the wild card. Let's talk about your Philadelphia Eagles tonight. Bump, 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 bump. Eagles, Buccaneers start off a doubleheader in Monday Night Football. And here's what they have to offer as far as the injury report goes. This injury report's 2 days old, but it's the most recent that we'll get before kickoff, other than inactives. This is a sight to be seen. Reed Blankenship, full participant. James Bradbury, full participant. Fletcher Cox, full participant. Zach Cunningham, full participant. Jordan Davis, Terrell Edmonds, Kenny Aidwell, Devontae Smith, Jack Stoll, Josh Sweat. All full participants. However, listed as out, Quez Watkins and Boston Scott. Boston Scott is in concussion protocol. Quez Watkins is dealing with a hamstring injury. And as we've talked about many times before, those speed guys, that can be an issue, as we all know. James Bradbury, Reed Blankenship being back there when you have Chris Godwin and Mike Evans running the way they've been running, catching the way they've been catching, is obviously a great thing. I'm going to get into my five things I'm looking for, first and foremost, when it comes to this Eagles team versus the Buccaneers. Top 5 things I'm going to be looking at. As I started the show with, I'm done with the Bowles versus Hurts thing. That is, to me, no longer a question. And I look for today for our man Jalen Hurts to rewrite that, all right? Out with the old, in with the new. But in with the new comes Brian Johnson and his dynamic as a play caller with Jalen Hurts. This isn't Jalen Hurts versus Todd Bowles. This is Brian Johnson versus Todd Bowles. This is Nick Sirianni and Brian Johnson getting ready to see how they do this time around against Todd Bowles. This is those two figuring it out with the game planning throughout the more than a week to prepare with Nick Sirianni and the play calling tonight of Brian Johnson. Show me what you guys been working on since last Thursday's game against the Minnesota Vikings, where you went, well, pass game's not working so great, so let's just run it down their throat. Let's just run it down their throat. And that's exactly what they did. How are they going to make it work this time around? By incorporating the passing game. And if Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are going off in this particular game, then you're going to need to throw the football a little bit. Might be playing some catch-up at some point. I doubt it, but it's definitely a possibility. So the first thing I'm going to be looking at is how they've game planned, play calls with Brian Johnson, and if they are doing that famous cliche, putting their players in the proper position to make plays. First thing I'm looking at tonight. After that, it's Baker Mayfield. And it's not Baker Mayfield, the ultimate threat that's going to throw for 350 yards and 5 touchdowns. No, not even close. It is a responsible Baker Mayfield. An unshaken Baker Mayfield. Shake him up. All right? I want to see this defensive line. Josh Sweat good to go. Fletcher Cox good to go. Jordan Davis good to go. Jalen Carter continuing the force that he has been in the middle of that line of scrimmage. I want to see this defense eat. Because even with James Bradbury being back, Darius Slay obviously still healthy, thank goodness, and now your nickel corner position being Mario Goodrich, I'm going to have my fingers crossed to see how he fills in without Avonte Maddox. They're going to be trying to force switches with routes they're going to be running with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, try to get Mario Goodrich on one of them so they can really exploit him. That's probably the way they're going to go for a couple of plays. And if it works, a couple more. The only way I think the Eagles can combat this, and it's what I've said throughout this entire, throughout the first 2 games of the season, and even going back to last year, when you look at this Eagles offensive line, they obviously have to buy time for their quarterback, and you could grade running backs on a curve because of how good they are. Same thing when it comes to the defensive line. When it comes to the guys you have up front, your front 4, they can have everybody else in the secondary in the passing game graded on a curve by limiting the amount of time a quarterback, not just Baker Mayfield, but in this case, Baker Mayfield has to find his receivers. The thing is with Mike Evans, he can catch a ball 10 yards up, and Baker Mayfield could drop back for a second and a half, and that ball's gone. It's kind of hard to get to the quarterback in that amount of time. And you could give that ball to Mike Evans, and he could be going 60 yards with it. Same thing with Chris Godwin. They don't need a lot of time, but limit that time. That's going to be one of the biggest things for grading Mario Goodrich on a game like today, is seeing how well he can do if this defensive line does, in fact, eat. Baker Mayfield, through the first 2 games of this season, has not given the ball away. He is not permitted to take away. Eagles got to change that up today. It's the first. Those are the 1 and 2 for me. It goes Brian Johnson and Nick Sirianni versus Todd Bowles, and it goes Baker Mayfield versus this defensive line. Not even versus Mario Goodrich. Not even versus the outside corners and James Bradbury and Darius Slay. Not even Reed Blankenship and maybe the inexperience you're going to have in that deep secondary with the safety position. But it goes right then and there, Baker Mayfield versus this defensive line. Get him off his mark. After that, we saw Reed Blankenship in week 1. So Reed Blankenship now coming back from the rib injury. I expect all to be fine and dandy as far as his health goes. Now it's going to be about skill. We saw what happened with guys like Hunter Henry on Reed Blankenship in the end zone against the Patriots in week 1. Mike Evans, 6'3", 6'4", knows how to get open. He's always open, especially if you're facing 5'11" Reed Blankenship down the field. Figure out a way to get the right position on this. And then on the defensive side of things also, when it comes to coaching here, Sean Desai, you got to be ready for this as well, because they're going to have opportunities to take shots down the field to Mike Evans. And he is going to be, if he's drawing a safety, always open. So I'm going to be looking at the Mike Evans versus this safety position group, whether that's Terrell Edmonds, whether that's Reed Blankenship, whoever he draws deep. That's who I'm going to be looking. Justin Evans, Sidney Brown, that's what I'm going to be looking at upfield. That's number 3. And he's going to eat. He always eats. It's not just Tom Brady throwing him the football that makes him good. It's the fact that he's just really good. Really, really good. Who else? Mike Glennon throwing him the football. Now Baker Mayfield, Tom Brady mixed in. That's pretty damn good too. He's had quite a few. famous Jameis, throwing him the football there in Tampa. He's gone through his share of quarterbacks. He's made them all look pretty good. Pretty good. So that's what I'll be concerned about. That's number 3. Number 2 on this list, I know I mentioned the defensive line. I got to talk about the edge rushers here. Now, yesterday, Nick Sirianni was asked about Hassan Reddick and how much the thumb is limiting him. He said not much. I don't believe you. I think that's a lot. I think it's limiting him quite a bit. He can make contact, but it's difficult for him to get around somebody blocking him on the outside. Josh Sweat certainly can get his on the other side and has gotten his. Great start to the season so far for Josh Sweat. But Hassan Reddick, I would love for this to be a breakout game for Hassan Reddick. I would love for this, at the end of the game, for this to be Hassan. Hey, remember me? I'm still here. My thumb's a little bit better now. Watch out. I'd love for that. There's going to be some plays. You're not just going to get it with your front 4. Yeah, if you're getting rid of the football quick, then the only thing you're going to be able to really rely on is having an edge rusher beat his man right off the snap with quickness and speed, and Hassan Reddick has got that. If he can finish the play by getting to Baker Mayfield, he's going to force him into a mistake, and he's going to knock him off his rocker, and he's going to make him a little shaky, and he's going to be able to force turnovers in that regard. The final thing I'm looking forward to with this game is I do believe the Eagles are going to win this game. And this has to do more so with the aftermath of the game than the game itself. But I am looking forward to the Eagles calming the storm. Now, last week, when we went through Jalen Hurts' comments, he talked a lot about the standard. And I said that my favorite philosophers ever are Marcus Aurelius, Socrates, and Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts talking about the standard and how much more important the standard is than the win is a big deal. For instance, the Eagles are 2-0. This was his words, not mine. The Eagles are 2-0, but they haven't played to their standard. So he's unsatisfied. Now, he also said you could lose and play to the standard, but you're unsatisfied because you didn't win. You lost. So what really is the main thing is the main thing, and the standard is the main thing. Winning is ultimately most important, but if you win but didn't play well, that's not the standard. The standard is what we've been talking about for the first 2 games of the season. I'd say 2 weeks, but it's been less than that. When you look at the Eagles, can you tell me that they're a Super Bowl contender based on how they played in the first 2 games? if you're being honest with yourself, the answer is no. I know you can shift to, well, they found ways to win, so they'll always find a way to win. Yeah, I'd love to believe that, but if you're somewhat being objective, even the least bit, the real deal here is that they haven't played to a Super Bowl winning standard, and that's the standard that they have themselves at. Now, I don't know. I'd love to find this out one day, where the Eagles win the Super Bowl, but maybe your offense doesn't play well, and Jalen Hurts still has a bad taste in his mouth while he's holding the Lombardi trophy. I'd love to see it, but I think he'd be pretty happy in that moment. The Eagles need to get back to that standard, and I'm looking at this game tonight to be a statement game for the Eagles. Quite frankly, it's what it needs to be. I want to see the standard. Now, they're never going to play the perfect game, and last year when they were 8-0, and they were playing perfect record-wise, they said, well, it's not about necessarily being 8-0. It's about the pursuit of perfection. And Jalen Hurts even said last week, you're never going to get to that pursuit. You're never going to get to perfection. All you can do is keep striving for it. I'm all there, man. I'm all there, and I want this game to be a statement game. Now, one of the things they are going to have to ride in this particular game, and if I had to say there's a fifth thing in the game, it is this offensive line. I know the offensive line is great. I know this offensive line is fantastic. Shaq Barrett can obviously get to the quarterback here, so they have to be very much on their game with that. Right at the line of scrimmage, right there with Jason Kelsey, right there with Landon Dickerson, right there with Cam Jurgens. Vita Vea is right there to make plays. And we talk about Jalen Carter a lot, and rightfully so. Vita Vea is pretty gosh darn good. That's the next matchup. If I have to go with a fifth matchup, that's certainly a matchup I'm going to be paying a lot of attention to tonight. But ultimately, my official prediction for tonight is that the Philadelphia Eagles will win this game tonight 31-24. That's the way I see them winning this game. I think with the passing game that the Buccaneers have, with the receivers that they have, I feel similar to the way I felt about the Vikings game, where we're going to look at this offense, and we're going to see this offense put up points, and we're going to see this defense force turnovers. But I feel like similar to the Vikings, the Bucs are going to make it look a lot closer towards the end than the game actually is. But I got a 31-24 Eagles win over the Buccaneers. That's the way I see it playing out. As for your head coach, he addressed the media yesterday. If you watch the NFL, especially if you watch that Patriots game, you saw, at least in one particular instance, the tush push. Many teams have really tried to replicate this and have not had nearly as much success as the Eagles. I think it's up to 98% success rate when they run the tush push. I never thought we'd actually be talking about this, but Nick, in terms of the name, but I believe it was Tim McManus of ESPN that asked Nick Sirianni about it. Do you guys get too much credit for the tush push name, and who came up with it?
Guys that created it.
That's a good question. It works, and we just keep doing it. I don't remember if we said we saw this. I know Reggie Bush did it to Matt Leinart a long time ago, right? In Notre Dame versus USC, but yeah, there's not a rule against it, so that's what we do. I don't know what the origin exactly is, except for when it works, we just keep rolling with it.
Part of it is a little bit overstated. Like there are times when it's just a regular quarterback sneak.
Sometimes, yeah. It's not always a push like that. So yeah.
We are. It's not always. He's not always pushing his ass. Is what I'm saying. He's not always. Do you have your hands on his ass and you're pushing him in there? All right. But anyway. It always works for the Eagles, so who gives a damn whenever anybody else tries it and fails epically. But if Bill Belichick is trying to imitate you, it ain't bad. All right. Finally, I didn't know I needed this, and I'm watching the press conference over the weekend. I told you guys I loved the Kelsey documentary. The Kelsey documentary was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. I got emotional. And you know who else did? Nick Sirianni. Here's Nick Sirianni's review of the Kelsey documentary. If you haven't seen it, it's highly recommended.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. I actually I took my my wife and my son to the premiere. It was when I was crying in the first 5 minutes of it, I knew, I'm like, oh goodness. I looked at my wife, and I had tears in my eyes, and I go, it's only been 5 minutes. You know, I told Jason this, and one thing I thought was so cool that, you know, there was a part that was happening, and I was sitting here, my wife was sitting here, and my son Jacob was sitting here, and Jacob leaned over my wife to look at me. He goes, "Daddy," and I go, "Yeah, buddy." He goes, "This is probably the best movie I've ever seen."
Absolutely love it. It was fantastic. If you haven't seen it, it is absolutely spectacular. I loved the Kelsey documentary. Connor Barwin, an EP on it, executive producer. I got to get Connor on the show. I want to get Connor Barwin on the show and talk about that, because they did a fantastic job. They did an absolutely fantastic job. The only thing I don't like is that Connor Barwin, you guys didn't include Jason Kelsey when making him everyman, when making him seem like he was just like us. You didn't happen to put the idea that he was in Wing Bowl one year. You didn't even throw that in. Come on. No stone left unturned? I think not. Anyway, let me tell you guys about the fantastic people at MyBookie. You enjoying all the NFL action? Well, make your money work smarter, not harder, with MyBookie. Celebrate your winning season with MyBookie's biggest welcome offer yet. A 110% deposit match on your first deposit. You heard that right. You can more than double your money before you even place a bet by making a deposit with MyBookie. All you have to do is use promo code Farzy at mybookie.ag. That's mybookie.ag. Use promo code Farzy. But make sure you act quick, because the offer is only available this week, and you can only get it with my promo code. That's promo code Farzy. With full slate of NFL and college football games, there's plenty of options to bet and win. So don't be the guy who missed out. Don't be the lady that missed out. Come on now. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere, only with MyBookie. Here's what you get. You heard it right. You go to mybookie.ag, use promo code Farzy, and you have a chance right there to more than double your money with your first deposit. You get a 110% deposit match on your first deposit at MyBookie. That's mybookie.ag with promo code Farzy. So check it all out. Let's get to the chat check, see how you wonderful people are doing. Going to start it off on the Jacob chat. Holy Stromboli. Hello, Jacob chat. Nice to see you. What's going on? What do you guys got going on today? Dallas sucks. We talked about the Cowboys being terrible. It is. Oh, it's just fantastic. Oh, it was so fantastic. Dak Prescott throwing an interception in the end zone. It gave you everything you needed. Just beautiful. Played a Little League high school game against Jay Cave. That's pretty cool. Daz, the glorious week 3 so far. Absolutely. Robert Myers. Hope they come out sharp tonight. They have to come out crisp. As I said, statement game from the Philadelphia Eagles. The whole East lost. We can't. Man, we already talked about the Giants. They're pretty terrible too. How about them Cowboys? Dank Kelly Green Burrito. Great name. Have to win to make the weekend complete. You damn right. Mint Diggity. Where them boys this morning? They crying. King Poodie TV. Mike Evans definitely sniffing the Hall of Fame. No question. Dan Kelly Green, Eagles O-line starting to find their stride. I agree, but they do have a formidable opponent. Mint Diggity. How about Taylor Swift's new boyfriend? I'm telling you, I have a theory. This is all just a ruse. All right? This is all ruse. They are, I'm telling you, they're pals. They're friends. If you just started dating a girl, all right, and you're walking with her, all right, and you're not holding her hand, that seems weird to me. Especially if you're in that early puppy love stage. Oh, maybe they've been dating for months. Maybe we're just catching wind of this. Did you see the look on Travis's face while he was walking through the bowels of the stadium there with Taylor Swift? He was like, how you doing? I don't know who it was, but somebody said, like, he's got that friend zone face. I thought the same thing. Friend zone. Let's go over to Farzy Show, see how you guys are doing over here. Sean Kilrain, what's going on? How you guys feeling? Broncos country, let's ride. Ugh. 13 penalties for the Cowboys is amazing. That's not a well-coached team, folks. It's not a well-coached team. Good morning, everyone. Mets, Cowboys. Isn't it fun, Professor Dutch? Good morning, Philadelphia sports fans. It's the most wonderful time of the year, Red October. Can't wait. I said it over the weekend during Fighting's postgame on Jacob Media. Said it over the weekend. Looking into the stands, like fall baseball just sounds different. It hits the ear different. There's like a chill to it. You can almost hear the temperature drop on the TV. And hearing that, seeing the fans in hoodies with their Phillies jerseys over top and winter caps and stuff like that, I was like, oh, man, I can feel it. And the Eagles are going to be good. They can feel it. It's a great time of year. It's the best time of year. When the Phillies are playing playoff baseball, when the Eagles are playing, there is no better time in Philadelphia. No better time in Philadelphia. Please confirm this is the last time we discuss Taylor Swift. Love baby bro Trav, but my goodness, enough already, says Professor Dutch. It's the last time. Until the next time. Sean Payton is way overrated. Sean Gillespie, I agree. April! Everyone, make sure you wish April a happy birthday. It was her birthday over the weekend. Happy birthday, April. Sean Kilrain, he went 4-1 with 14 saves with a 1.51 ERA in 49 relief appearances through the minors this year. Yeah, absolutely incredible. Including, was it the South Florida League? No, it was the Jersey Shore. Literally, the Jersey Shore League, yes. Family and the friends in the stands is always great. Absolutely. Kazir White went off and sealed the deal with the interception. He was running his mouth. Dak was my Phillies flag got jacked up in the storm. No! But my superstitious self won't get rid of it before the end of the season. April, good on you. I'm not one for silly superstitions, but I believe in stuff like that. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are great. Once again, here's what I got for you tonight. Phillies are off tonight. Eagles 7:15 kickoff against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Do the things I said, and we win this football game. Yes, we win this football game. But I got a 31-24 Eagles victory. I think Baker Mayfield throws an interception tonight and leaves us just feeling fantastic going forward about whatever else this team is going to give us for the rest of the season. I feel like this is the statement game that the Eagles need to have. To put all our worries aside, particularly with our quarterback, and some people have a lot of those worries, I feel like this is the game where they just get on the same page and they get it done. And they make us feel great about it. I need a fast start from this Eagles team. I need a quick start from this Eagles team. I need a crisp start from this Eagles team. I don't need another 54-yard bomb to Devontae Smith and then a screeching halt in the red zone like it was against the Vikings last week. I need steady, consistent, game-controlled football. And I feel like this time around, instead of being a great game manager, Baker Mayfield is only going to look like the assistant to the regional game manager in this one. That's how I feel about this game. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. You guys are great, as per usual. Make sure you guys hit subscribe, like, all that fun stuff on the Farzy Show and Jacob Media as well. To the people on the podcast, thank you so much. Hey, if you like me, bonus me today. I'll be doing a hit at Fox 29 coming up at 7:45 today. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody. And, of course, I'll see you later today as well on the Eagles pregame show with Jacob Media. So for the people on Jacob Media, keep it right here all throughout the day for all Eagles coverage. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Be back with you guys tonight for Eagles, Bucs pre, halftime, and postgame right here on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. And I'll also be back with you guys tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. to break it all down even further. Talk to you guys then. See ya.